I don't know. I'm concerned about what kind of vaccination process they have in China that you would have such a severe lockdown. Because here, people just accept. I mean, we get famous people getting COVID every day. It's like kind of like, oh, really? Okay, so COVID. All right, she got COVID. He got COVID. I mean, and there it seems like that to try to stem it would seem to be like putting fingers in a dike. I don't know how you do it.
It is their biggest lockdown in a couple of years. As David said, they'll do half of the city. I heard some reports this morning. B of A's note talks about traders with sleeping bags so they can stay at work and keep operations going. Is that why oil's down 5%?
Yeah. I mean, people just think that it's suddenly demand is not where it should be. I got to tell you, I get production numbers from Rusty Brazil from RBN. Production's not up. I mean, I think that you have to buy oil on weakness every time. I buy it on weakness. I buy Chevron at 166.
Why?
Well, because I don't think that China necessarily correlates with worldwide demand, but supply has simply not increased at all. And by the way, what happened to the idea of maybe Russian supply coming on?
Well, we did have a couple scary, I guess nervous headlines. One is that the Germans say we're not paying for your gas in rubles. And then Russia replying a few moments ago on the tape, at least, saying, well, that might spark a halt of your supply.
Then oil goes through the roof?
Potentially. There's also the question as to what Russian productivity is going to look like 6 months out. I don't know how much focus this has gotten, but, for example, Sakhalin and other parts of their oil complex that have been run in part by large multinationals.
Right. I mean, whether they can maintain production?
Can they maintain
without Schlumberger
production?
technology?
Correct.
It's not clear.
Does it become more like what we saw Venezuela become in terms of the significant cuts in production once they nationalized so much of their oil, or they nationalized their oil business, so to speak, and all the multinationals pulled out? I mean, it's not clear the Russians have the technological prowess to actually be able to continue at the same levels that they were.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the kind of technology that it takes to get more out of a well is all American technology. And I know Schlumberger is more of an international company, but it's absolutely true that you cannot do as well without these great service companies that are American technology.
Yeah, and then remember Exxon, obviously, and some of its partners who have pulled out of Sakhalin, which is not an unimportant component of production there. So that's over time, but not that much time. That could be 3 to 6 months. You could see a reduction in the actual production out of Russia. Not to mention the continued question as to what's going to be purchased or not and how much on the open market and at discounts.
Hence, that's why I want to buy, Chevron 165, because I just see it's the production side that's in trouble. And
more than demand.
Yes,
more than
in the United States, I go back over to all these different producers, and they reiterate, Jim, you keep expecting us to break discipline. We're not breaking discipline, except for the private equity players, David, who are still have to pump in order to be able to come public or get a bid.
Right, or actually just generate a lot of cash flow.
They need cash flow.
Yeah.
Baker Hughes, rig count's been inching up. I mean, does that mean anything?
It's still private companies. The big guns are represented by Devon, with Rick Moncrief, the CEO, just says, look, what are we going to ramp up now? The forward curve shows that oil will be lower a year from now. So we'll end up spending our money unwisely and people will sell our stocks. So, Devon's another one that I think is great. I think these companies they've really got religion about being reckless. Plus, by the way, the cost of a well, just like a lot of things like building a house, the raw costs have gone up so much that the actual profit isn't as great.
Right. But there'll be a lot of political pressure saying that this is really the result of policy as opposed to the desire of shareholders that is keeping production from what it could otherwise be. Would seem that might not be correctly placed. And we talk about it every day, the desire for buybacks and return of capital through buybacks and or dividends is really what's motivating many of these companies not to increase production dramatically.
Totally right. You've got the president saying, listen, we will commit. You would have to have a lot of different moving parts go to be able to make it so Europe has enough natural gas. But the easiest one would be is to let the pipelines be pipelines. But the FERC, which regulates that, is blocking a lot of the pipelines that the president seems to want.